what was really, really disturbing us was why. We're asking ourselves why. Right. And so we actually just took a sample and looked at voter registration records. And we found people here registered to vote. This population, yes.
And who did vote?
And we found some by sampling that actually did vote. And we have referred them to prosecution.
CrossroadsIRL.com.
And then you'll notice there's a strange trend here where many Social Security numbers were issued. Do you want to?
Yeah, so let me tell you what happened here. We started at the top of the system.
You want to talk about a lot of it.
We started at the top of the system, mapping the whole system of Social Security to understand where all the fraud was. And there's a lot of great people there that showed us really a lot of waste. And so that came up with a big list of stuff they're working on. You've heard some of that already, but this is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, this literally blew us away. Like, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. This isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. Yeah, this country's been great to us. My brother and sister all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration. This is not political. This is not political. This is about America, the future of America. There are a lot of good people in the system that pointed us in this direction. I want to honor them right now. That work in the government today, who took risks to show us these numbers and tell us what's going on. Yeah. So I want to stop for a minute. I want to honor those people today.
Yeah. Now, there's always going to be this conversation that says, because this group is showing us this data, it is political. And I'll say, yeah, I mean, to be honest, everything we do has a high degree of politics. Everything we do. I'm not going to sit here and look. I started this channel, at least this iteration of the channel. The channel has been around for a while. I wanted to use it first of all as a tutorial channel, and then I found myself doing other things with the channel, and now I do politics. And I found that everything we do is political. Everything we do. Even when we're looking at sports is a different kind of politics. You have a team that people like. Politics is about following, supporting you, promoting you to leadership. Sports is a form of politics. I don't want to go too deep into this. Sports is a form of politics. If you have a team and the team has a large following, that large following buys tickets. Those tickets are the owners of the team to improve the resources for training and kitting out the team and paying them better than everyone else, getting great contracts, providing them with a lot of resources and healthcare and so on. You buy merch. The funds from the merch equally supports the sports team. Eventually, that supports them to grow a team that is able to win at the championships. Similar to politics. Politics is all about people getting together behind someone that they like and support, and who stands for their values, and they will vote that person into power. In sports, the supporters vote with their money. They vote with their money. In politics, in governmental politics, they vote with votes, and in some cases with money, because the politicians need money to run ads and everything. So life is really politics. When you understand that breakdown, you shouldn't feel guilty when you begin to have leanings, but your leanings must be fair. Because unlike sports teams cater to their audience. They win for their audience. When they win, they and their audience enjoy it. Now, the spectacle of competing is great for everyone, but they win essentially for their audience. In general politics, person who wins has a responsibility not just to those who put them in power, but also to those who didn't want them to be in power. And that's the way a working system should be. We're seeing a lot of partisan reaction to these issues where somebody who is doing something for the good of everyone is being lambasted and maligned simply because this is not the guy I like. We covered earlier President Trump's peace deal not being celebrated by the Free Palestine crowd. And when you watch the reaction, it's very clear that the problem is they are so uncomfortable that it was him that brokered this deal. Should be asking the question, how come people we liked didn't broker this peace deal? How come these people that we believed in didn't make this happen? But this guy that we hate so much made it happen. The answer shouldn't be, well, we hate him, therefore let's hope it doesn't work. The answer shouldn't be, because he's the one who brokered the peace deal, it's faulty, it's unfair, it's going to break apart. That should not be the case. So whenever we have these kinds of emotional roller coasters about politics, we should actually learn how to aim it towards a fair outcome for everyone. All right. He just said these numbers are not about politics. I agree. If you have a country that runs the way they're about to reveal, you're on a fast track to destroying your country. Believe me. I don't know why Americans can't see it. They're all Americans, but some Americans can't see it. They're so hateful of President Trump that they would rather see the Middle East burn and to see him succeed at brokering a peace deal. They want to see Russia and Ukraine burn instead of seeing him succeed at making peace between Russia and Ukraine. It's wild when you look at it that way. When you look at it that way and you say to yourself, okay, there's something wrong with this picture, then you begin to have decent conversations. Let's talk about policy, not about the personality. The party that focuses more on personality and hating people, that party is one that you should run away from. It is unhealthy and it is setting up your country for a massive, massive disaster. We're having planes falling out, not parts of planes falling out of the sky last year. I haven't seen any of those happen this quarter at least. Last year, it was happening regularly. So something definitely changed. All right? So let me know in the chat or in the comment section if you're following this logic of mine.
People, very good people. I have been from the DC Social Security offices to the border to track this down, and very good people have helped us along the way. I want to thank them.
Yeah.
This number, what this is when you come in the country, if you're illegal, there's a couple ways to come in. You come in through a port of entry, and you can tell them you're afraid, and they'll give you an asylum case. You'll get an interview, then you get in. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to just go to the border. Literally, this happened. I talked to Border Patrol myself. Elon was there too. I went to Laredo, and I went to Bronzeville. Elon went to Eagle Pass. You walk up to a Border Patrol officer, and you tell them you want to come in. They have a couple of choices. They could charge you with a misdemeanor or a felony under 1325, or they can make it an administrative offense, like a parking ticket, basically. They were told to do that, make it an administrative offense under the last administration. And then you go walk across the border, they do what's called a release your own recognizance, and they give you an NTA, a notice to appear, which is to appear to judge. The wait times on judges are like average 6 years. Look at Grok, you'll see it on immigration judges. There's only 700 of them. This is 5.5 million people. Okay? So what happens then? Once you're in the country and you've got asylum through one of these pathways, and we've mapped the whole thing out, you can apply a work document. You file a 765, it's the work form. You get this form called the 766, that's the authorization, and then Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail Social Security number. No interview. No ID.
This is worth just reiterating. It's not people sometimes think that under the Biden administration that he was simply asleep at the switch. He wasn't asleep.
No.
They weren't asleep at the switch. It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the entire voting map of the United States and disenfranchise the American people and make it a permanent, deep blue, one-party state from which there would be no escape.
So let's look at that accusation. And many people will say, well, it's a conspiracy theory, but let's look at the merits of the accusation first of all. Had people crossing the border illegally, instead of being sent back across the border, which was a summary deportation like they should have been doing, the Border Patrol agents were instructed to let them in and essentially give them a administrative citation or something like a parking ticket, and then give them a notice to appear before an immigration judge, leaving them with 6 years. Within that 6 years, things could happen. Policy could change. And of course, we had Chuck Schumer saying that it was their intention to win citizenship for most of people who came in fact, all of the over 10 million illegal immigrants who came into the country. It is on record. It is out there. The videos are out there. You can find them. So in 6 years, this 10 million, they're not all criminals. Forgive me. Illegal, undocumented immigrants eventually wind up on voter rolls. The most visible people who are saying, give them the right to vote, give them social security number, give them benefits like they're doing now. They shut down government because they wanted these people to have certain benefits to the healthcare system and cities. Of course, the Democrats are saying that's not true. It's a lie. But when you have the reports from the last 4 years showing that this was happening, you can't unsee it. So these are the people who helped you, who want you to settle in the United States. It's time to vote. You know what they're going to tell you? They're going to tell you, as an immigrant who has just been given the right to vote, but you're still an illegal immigrant. But they're telling you, well, we're working on you becoming a citizen. So you say, I want to be a citizen. In order to be a citizen, let me vote for the guys who want to make me a citizen. So you see how this works? And then they vote Democrat. The Democrats found a way to give them the ability to vote. They vote Democrats. Now, out of these people that they're talking about on the screen, how many of them voted in the 2024 presidential elections?
Look, if I hadn't seen this myself, I'm not sure I'd have believed it. I went through it myself and mapped it. And Elon is right. This is true. The defaults in the system from Social Security to all of the benefit programs have been set to max inclusion, max pay for these people, and minimum collection. That's what's happening. We found 1.3 million of them already on Medicaid, as an example. We've gone through on every benefit program.
So 1.3 million of these immigrants, undocumented immigrants, were already on Medicaid. Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries said, no, they're not. That's not true. All the Democrats, all the illegal immigrants are not on Medicaid. And what the Republicans are saying is actually a lie. I can't do it. So Hakeem Jeffries is still screaming that it's not true that illegal immigrants are on Medicaid, but they're saying that they found those records. That's why they didn't want Doge in those records, because it opened up a whole lot. We're going to eventually go back and look at all of the things that they found, because last 10 months of Trump's presidency feels like 3 years. It feels like 3 years. A lot has happened. And because a lot has happened, sometimes we forget more has happened in these 10 months than happened in Biden's 4 years. A lot has happened. And so we tend to forget all of these details about the list and the details and data that Doge came out with that we were getting every other day. Of course, there were reports that these were things that weren't exactly accurate. There were adjustments being made, and Elon Musk should not have released these things because they were misinformation and everything. But how much of it was true? Today, we're finding out that there was a handful of stuff that's true.
We found groups from this particular group of people, this 5.5 million people in those benefit programs. And then what was really, really disturbing us was why. We're asking ourselves why. Right. And so we actually just took a sample and looked at voter registration records. And we found people here registered to vote. This population, yes.
And who did vote?
And we found some by sampling that actually did vote. And we have referred them to prosecution, Homeland Security Investigation Service.
Yeah, so, and they should be prosecuted because they broke the law. They broke the law coming in illegally. They broke the law voting because they couldn't vote. I had someone come to our house when, trying to get us to vote for them. And we said, look, we're still unable to vote. And they turned around and walked away. Look, and I can eventually vote. If that person comes on the ballot, I will not vote for them because as far as they're concerned, the voter is just a tool. As soon as they knew, oh, you can't vote, they just turned and walked away. We have to begin to put our value as voters on these politicians. All right, I just want to throw that in. Here we are talking about Nancy Pelosi. We're talking about Donald Trump and the peace deal. We're talking about all of this stuff that has gone on over the last few months and that will go on. We're going to be looking at the No Kings protests. The likes of Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Jasmine Crockett, AOC, and the rest of them are going to be in our faces screaming about how there's no king. Meanwhile, they treat all of us like peasants. So it's about time that the voting population got together and said, okay, it's time for us to actually exert the power we do have and vote these people out. It's really that simple. You should not be a tool in their hands. I'm glad that Mike G eventually decided that he was done with the Democrat Party and he's taking his power and he's going to vote somewhere where he feels like they are defending the policies that he values. I'm not saying get angry and revolt and break things. No, it's a silent resolve to simply say, these people are not going to use me as a tool. I'm not going to be a tool of the Republican Party, a tool of the Democrat Party, a tool of MAGA, because MAGA can mean one thing today, and then in 5 years, it means something completely different when President Trump is no longer into politics. Things change. So you have to be willing to make those shifts when the time comes. Now imagine you have over half the voting population with that awareness and that power, and they cannot be manipulated by the media. That is frightening. That is frightening. It's so frightening. Once somebody comes along who thinks for themselves, they immediately start slinging expletives and insults and accusations at that person so that other people don't follow their example. They need you to be hypnotized and to follow after everything they say without asking a single question. The moment you start asking why, you're a problem.
Ready. That is already happening right now. Yeah. The truly disturbing thing, though, I just want you to know this, a truly disturbing thing to me, and the darkest thing about this to me, voter fraud is terrible. The human tragedy this created is extraordinary, because what you don't understand, and people don't know, and Americans need to know, that's why I'm here, is that human traffickers make $13 to $15 billion off of this, okay? That's the money that's going around the world, moving people around the world to our borders because of these incentives. How does it work? What happens? Hey, if you're in Africa and you're in South America, you got to walk up through Mexico, through South America. Who do you pay? You pay the narcos, you pay the traffickers.
So is Bernie Sanders upset that those have suddenly become billionaires, human trafficking? He'll complain about Elon and everyone else that's in a legitimate business and benefiting from the sacrifices that they made. I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I still have a mortgage, so I don't outright own my house yet. So I'm not as rich as these people. But I feel that when I hear kind of narrative being pushed that these people are greedy and they need to pay their fair share. Where were you when they were sacrificing to build up the businesses that you see today? Where were you? You were nowhere. Then suddenly they succeed, and then you show up with your hands out to take what they spent years building. So it upsets me whenever I hear those big talking points coming from, and this is heading towards the AOC and Bernie Sanders town hall. I was hoping to avoid it, but maybe I would talk about it. So Elon and his team uncovered massive fraud, massive criminality in the voter rolls. That is what they're trying to do. And more we look at the way they are reacting to the ICE enforcement, how they are pushing and using rhetoric like we saw from Chuck Schumer yesterday, get to understand what they are trying to protect. The way someone reacts determines what it is they are trying to protect, the thing that is precious to them. And to the Democrats, the illegal immigrants, important to them. And why is that? It is because these are the people who will guarantee that they come back into power eventually if they can keep enough of them in the country. Conspiracy theory? No. It's no longer a conspiracy theory when you have evidence that they voted during the last election. So it's no longer a conspiracy theory.
Right? And we were told by ICE, it's between $20,000 and $500, depends where they pick you up, to walk across all those countries and get all the way up to the border. Where's that money goes? It goes to the cartels. It goes to human traffickers. There are 30,000 children that have not appeared on the notice to appear already. ICE knows this. 30,000 children. 170,000 children even get notices to appear. ICE told us that kids are being trafficked back and forth across the border to complete families to make this easier. This is a human tragedy. It's not just the money, it's the people, kids. And how many of these people died on the way up here that didn't make it in? What happened to them? We created this system here that created an incentive for people to come and be taken advantage of by these traffickers. And how do you think they get paid? Well, you're in Africa, Central America, you got $20,000 or $10,000 or $5,000 to pay these traffickers? No, you don't. What happens? You come in, then you owe them the money.
Yeah.
You're an indentured servant. If you don't pay them, what happens? What do? They kill your mother, they kill your brother, they kill your family. What happens next? That's what we discovered. I have to tell you, it's tragic to me. The tragedy, the human tragedy this created is extraordinary. That's the real problem. This is America. We don't do this here in America.
Yeah.
And I want to point out that Elon Musk and the gentleman speaking are both immigrants. So this is not an issue of racist and I'm an immigrant. It's not an issue of being racist. It's really an issue of speaking the truth and calling things out.
Subscribe.
Thanks for watching, liking, and sharing this video. Please subscribe, leave a super thank, and join my membership to keep me doing this. A huge thank you to my supporters listed on the screen. Thank you for your donations and membership.
Thanks for watching.